What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? It's your boy, the Ultimate Rage, coming back with yet another live here in the No Cap Zone, where we have a strict dress code. Now get the hell off with that capping ass bullshit. The only kind of cap that we allow around these parts is your thinking cap, okay? Otherwise, you have to move the hell around. This isn't the place for you. This is not the community for you. So please, I beg of you, I humbly beseech of you, please get the fuck out. Alright? Because around these parts, all we care about are the facts, the truth, the data, the information, statistics, evidence, things that can actually be demonstrated in real life, like in real time. Like while we are alive and sane and of sound mind, because otherwise I have no idea what these loonies out here are talking about, and to tell you the truth, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's why we, us sane people, we gotta fucking talk about it. So, let's talk about it, alright? So before we continue, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on that notification bell, hit the website, offthe9.com. Make sure you come through to the Discord. We're building a community of sane, sound mind, and like-minded people who actually want to help push humanity to higher heights, okay? Because if we're not doing that, what the fuck are we doing? Which brings me to the topic of discussion. What the hell are we doing? This is what we always ask every day. What exactly are we doing as a human race, as Americans? What are our goals? What are our aims? What are we hoping to accomplish in the grand scheme of things? What is our ultimate goal in the history of history when it's all said and done? What are we hoping to have accomplished at the end of it all? These are the type of questions I have no idea why we're not having these conversations, why we're not talking about it, why we're not discussing them at length, nationwide, worldwide, as a human race, as Americans, as conscious beings, as earthlings, because this is like the most important question. These are the most important questions of all the questions. It kind of helps to have a purpose, to have a focus, to have a direction, to have a clear path towards a specific goal. When you don't actually talk about these things, well, you don't have a specific goal. So now you're just out here, just doing shit, just wandering around like chickens with our heads cut off with no clear sense of purpose, no clear direction. And so that's why we got to figure out, hey, what's the direction? Which direction should we go in? And why should we go in that direction? For what purpose? What is the intended purpose of us as a human race going in this specific direction? And so, in order for us to have a place to go and to actually get there, we have to first have a discussion about what we are doing. What is the purpose? What is the ultimate purpose? When I come up in here, basically I want people to understand that I am an atheist, an anti-theist. I am a humanist, a transhumanist, all right, and an extropist. Basically, I feel, and a futurist. Let me add that. I'm also a futurist. So basically, I'm all about the future. I'm always thinking about where are we going and why. What exactly are we doing as a human race? What are we hoping to accomplish, and what direction should we go in for what reasons? But I feel like in order to have that conversation, we have to take a step back and examine our reality as it is currently constructed, as it is right now, as we perceive it, where we are today. It is 4:38 p.m. Central Standard Time on May the 22nd, 2026 AD. Okay, so basically, this is a snapshot of right now, real time. What exactly are we doing? What are we hoping to accomplish? So, this is our reality. And the reality I always state is, at least here in America, but I'm pretty sure it's basically the whole world. Here in America, we've become what I call the scam capital, the capital of the world, the divided states of corporations, a nation that's just, a hyper-capitalist, plutocratic, oligarchical, conquistocratic, kleptocratic, gerontocratic, theocratic, idiocratic, craziocratic, techno-feudalist corporatocracy. A nation run by a bunch of rich, old, goofy, unqualified, unjustifiable, insane, stupid, corrupt, imbecilic, thieving ass, conniving ass Jesus freaks who don't know shit about fuck other than being bitch ass simps for the rich, the banks, the corporations, and the churches, and gaslighting us as if all of this is somehow helping us, despite the fact that all the data shows that they are literally killing us all. Every single one of us, by so many metrics, whether we're talking about climate change, whether we're talking about all these particulates in the atmosphere, the microplastics, and the PFAS chemicals that are crossing our blood-brain barrier, literally hindering our cognitive processes, to think straight. And so, therefore, we have this nation, we have this planet of just straight chaos, and we don't even understand how these things actually fucking happen. And it's actually super duper sad that we're not like working all hands on deck to figure it all out, so that we can actually optimize our society for our collective well-being. We don't even have conversations, real conversations, about what that means, because so many people have fallen into all kinds of ideologies and political parties, partisanship, and all that type of shit. And none of these entities have any real clear goals, like clear stated goals. So we live in this state of just like absurd chaos. Like, I guess you could say kind of controlled chaos, except it's not really controlled. It's just a bunch of chaos, and like, people are out here anxious as hell. They have no idea what the hell is going to happen today, tomorrow, or next week, because so many people who don't know what the hell they're talking about or what they're doing have too much influence on too many aspects of our society, and it is causing great hindrances to our collective quality of life. Because as a result, because so many people are delusional, because so many people subscribe to all these ridiculous ideas and ideologies, it makes it difficult for us to get on the same page. And now we don't actually like have real conversations about how things are actually supposed to work and how we are supposed to fit into all of that. So now we are struggling mightily as a nation to come together to figure out what to do. In fact, we don't even do it. And then what makes it worse, we have these media companies, these social media companies that do everything possible to create as much division and derision as possible to keep us separated, to keep us infighting, instead of coming together so that we can work interdependently with synergy to create a better society for ourselves and each other. Because all these moneyed interests, all these power interests, they work so diligently to maintain their firm iron grip on our fucking throats, and they keep their fucking steel-toed boots on our fucking neck, keeping us down, hindering everything possible for us to actually come together and have real conversations about anything. That is why I do what I do. That's why I created the No Cap Zone, so that we can have a place where we actually have real conversations. You don't have to agree with me on every single fucking thing, but if you're going to make a claim to me about anything, you got to show me. You can't just tell me some shit. You can't just assert or purport some shit. You actually have to demonstrate it to me. And if you can't demonstrate it to me, that's fine. That's totally fine, but then you got to shut the hell up. And then you got to actually get the fuck out of my face and then come back when you actually have some substance, when you actually have something with teeth, something that's actually substantive that I would look at and be like, wow, that actually justifies your claim, or at least gives credence to your claim. Otherwise, what the hell are we fucking talking about? Why are we even talking if you can't demonstrate any of the stuff you're talking about? Why are you talking to me? I am not here to argue with people. I don't get online so that I can go back and forth with all of these different people. I come here to have a real conversation. And the thing about it is that these are really, really tough conversations. These are really tough conversations because for so fucking long, so many powerful interests, so many moneyed interests, so many, groups of individuals and people have worked so hard to prevent these conversations because the inevitable truth is clear. Most of these fucking fools don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they never did. That's why it's so difficult for us as a human race, as American citizens, to actually come together and work interdependently with synergy to do anything other than like helping the powerful stay powerful, helping the rich get richer while us plebs continue to stay plebs, begging and pleading. We are in a time now where we have all these tools available to us. We got all like these mobile devices like this. We got social media. We got freaking obviously the internet where all this rests on. You would think that would be more than enough for millions of people to come together. And you don't even need millions of people to come together. You just need a solid group. Right? I mean, here in Illinois, I've actually helped pass legislation working with a group of like a little over 20 people, like 22 people or something like that, right? People just come together, working together interdependently with synergy towards a specific goal. And that's all it takes to accomplish anything, which is why it bothers me. It boggles my fucking mind that we here in America are just trudging along. Just trudging along. We are not a super duper vibrant metropolis as one would think we would be, right? We are not just a place where everything is super duper hunky dory, where everybody's basic needs are being met and people aren't struggling. This is supposed to be supposedly the greatest country in the fucking world, but yet so many problems exist and persist throughout our society. And despite all of that shit, all the people who have all the resources, who amassed all the resources, all the wealth, all the tools, the means of production, yeah, they just give all these bullshit ass excuses as to why they can't even think to begin to address half of these issues. But at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. That's why I say America's the scam capital, the capital of the world. That's why I say it, because it's abundantly clear. The money exists. The institutions exist. The manpower exists. All these people exist in the world, in the nation, in our continental United States. So it's not like it's impossible to accomplish anything. We have everything we need right here. So what's the problem? And I'll tell you what the problem is. It's very simple. It's what we refer to as coordination failure. It's the biggest issue in the fucking world. It's literally like the things I talk about, right? The mere fact when I ask the question, what are we doing? One would think that wouldn't even need to be asked. Like, we should already have tasks that we're working on, that we're already in the midst of accomplishing, that we can say, okay, we are 56% complete with this task. We have to accomplish this, that, this, or that. And we have all these agendas and this, that, and the third. But it just seems like the agenda of America is just like convoluted and basically, I would say, non-existent, which is why we have all these things that are happening that are really inexplicable, at least until you look at how things actually work in the real world. Things like this, right? I mean, the mere fact that I can ask, what are we doing? And I can't get a clear answer from people goes to show you just the miserable failure of our society. The media, government officials, there's no clear cut focus. There's no clear mission. If I sat down all these fucking goofies that are in power or that run these media organizations and I asked them, okay, what the fuck are we doing? We would get all of these cockamamie answers that make zero sense and that ultimately benefit really nobody but them themselves, at least financially. But the issue that we have is that what is the end goal, though? What is all of this shit for? All the things that these people in office and all these corporations, what is the ultimate goal here? What is the actual end goal? So that's why I wanted to talk about this Cuba story, okay? Because I think it's really indicative of the type of problems that we talk about here in the No Cap Zone. So check it out, all right? So this is from The Guardian. All right, so it says right here, Rubio doubtful of diplomacy with Cuba as Trump renews threat of military action. U.S. Secretary of State says president would like a negotiated agreement with Havana, but likelihood is, quote, not high. The U.S. President Donald Trump and the Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Thursday again raised the specter of military intervention in Cuba, a renewed threat that takes on greater weight a day after the administration announced criminal charges against Raul Castro, the island's former leader. Other presidents have looked at this for 50 to 60 years, doing something, Trump told reporters when asked about Cuba during an event in the Oval Office, and it looks like I'll be the one that does it, so I would be happy to do it. Rubio told reporters separately that Cuba had been a national security threat for years because of its ties to U.S. adversaries and that Trump was intent on addressing it. Now, let's make a note of that, okay? That is a very, very important point to note because I always ask, like, why is America so fucking focused on Cuba? And what is this deal about not actually solving the problem? And so we see here that according to Rubio, he told reporters that Cuba has been a national security threat for years because of its ties to U.S. adversaries and that Trump was intent on addressing it. Now, before we continue, I would just like to ask, just for the record, who are our adversaries and why are they still our adversaries? Okay? Because, see, we live in this time now, right, where I thought the goal was diplomacy, peace, working together, global initiatives, globalization. They talk about globalization all the fucking time. The only thing I see that's global is a desire for fucking war and conflict. Because why are we having enemies? Why are we having enemies? In 2026, in the 21st century. I'll get into it a little more because I want to get into my diatribe right now, but I don't want to lose sight of this article first because there's a lot we got to get into, a lot of substance we got to cover. So, anyway, Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants who has long taken the hard line against the country's socialist leadership, said the Trump administration wanted to resolve differences with Havana peacefully, but was doubtful the U.S. could reach a diplomatic resolution with the island's current government. Trump's preference is always a negotiated agreement that's peaceful. That's always our preference. That remains our preference with Cuba, Rubio said in Miami before boarding a plane to attend a NATO meeting in Sweden and visiting India. I'm just being honest with you, The likelihood of that happening, given who we're dealing with right now, is not high, he said. My question is, why is that? Why is the likelihood not high? I'll tell you why. Because they don't want it. They don't want diplomacy. Because if they wanted diplomacy, how hard is it to say, hey, let's have a meeting? How hard is that? See, this is one of the issues I have with government, and this is not something that's unique to the Trump administration. This has been an issue throughout America's history. Throughout American history. This is why it's so difficult to make any inroads in terms of any major useful policies, especially foreign policy. We, the people, have zero input in any of this bullshit. Because at the end of the day, there are financial interests that benefit greatly from war. You always got to think about it. Who benefits from war? Who are the ones that benefit from war? Think about this shit with this Iran war. Think about any war. What happens every time a fucking war happens? Oh, oil prices go up. Gas prices go up every single fucking time. And what happens too? They always end up making record profits. Record profits every single fucking time. And what do we know about President Trump? Very, 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 very big oil man. This is the same guy that doesn't believe in climate change because I guess reality doesn't fucking matter when you have the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ nowhere to be fucking found. But whatever. This is a guy who took us out of the Paris Climate Accords, you know what I'm saying? Took us away from fucking the World Health Organization. All these different fucking things that to me are unbecoming of a sensible, sane person, let alone a president of the free world. The mere fact that, and I say this all the time, and I'm not trying to get too deep into this, but it's like the mere fact that somebody like that can even come close to achieving a position of leadership goes to show you the brokenness of our entire system. And the reason why in 2026, when I ask what we're doing, we don't get any real clear answers because we are a nation just confused, completely confused. And we're going to get more into that. But let's get back to this fucking article, okay? Several of Trump's senior aides, including Rubio, the CIA chief, John Ratcliffe, and other senior national security officials, have met Cuban officials in recent months in an effort to improve relations. But U.S. officials reportedly came away dissatisfied, prompting a fresh wave of sanctions against the Cuban government over the past week. Over the years, Cuba had become accustomed to buying time and waiting us out, Rubio said. They're not going to be able to wait us out or buy time. We're very serious. We're very focused. When asked whether the U.S. would use force to change Cuba's political system, Rubio repeated that a diplomatic settlement was preferred, but noted that the president always has the option to do whatever it takes to support and protect the national interest. The president always has the option to do whatever it takes to support and protect the national interest. Okay. I think that's a very important thing to note too. What exactly is the national interest? What exactly is the U.S. national interest? What does that even mean? See, this goes back to when I asked, what exactly are we doing? Because, see, one of the reasons why I say that we're the scam capital, the cap capital in the world, is the fact that, like, we call ourselves the United States of America, but there's nothing actually united about us. We don't have unity on hardly anything other than being delusional, being at odds with one another, or subscribing to sci-fi fantasy delusions. Other than that, when it comes to like our values, our view of life, our worldviews, we couldn't be more divided. And it doesn't help with all these media companies and media organizations that do everything possible to keep us divided and always at odds. Okay, so what exactly is the national interest, though? What exactly does that entail? And I feel that if you ask people, if you ask Americans across the nation, that you would probably get a bajillion different fucking answers, which I think is a shame, because these are things that I would think would be the most important things in the fucking world. So, check this out. I'm trying to pull up this website, but for some reason, I don't know why this happens. Every time I go live, the internet all of a sudden starts getting whacked. Now, maybe it's because I'm streaming. Maybe that's clashing with the uploads and downloads, and maybe that's causing the internet to get all funky, but I don't know. It's just strange to me. Like, I'm always seeing these errors. Oh, error every single time I stream. YouTube is not receiving enough video and shit like that. But then when I go to my YouTube, my shit be looking decent. So I don't know what that's about. But I found this website just now. And mind you, I have not done any of this. I'm literally doing this in real time right now. So forgive me if these things don't work all that well, but I found this website that's called The National Interest. Okay, so let's go to their About Us, because I don't know if this is an official website. It's nationalinterest.org. It says the National Interest is an award-winning online publication focusing on defense issues, national security, military affairs, and 85 is a quarterly journal. Founding editors: some Australian dude, an American dude, blah 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 blah. Blah. Okay, so the fact of the matter is, this is not an official source. This is just one of the many sources that talk about these things. So I think it's important personally to talk about these things because different regimes, different political parties have different ideas about what the U.S. national interest should be. But my whole thing is, if we don't have a clear understanding of our reality in and of itself, then how can we ensure that our national interest is actually sensible, useful? You know what I'm saying? Or even like clear. Like, what is the national interest, right? I mean, we could go to like, Trump's, website or, official White House, whatever. We already know. This administration is all about Christian nationalism. We get that, right? And we're going to get into that more in the conversation because there's a lot to get into. I actually want to talk more about the story we talked about yesterday with the LDS Church because I actually dug a little deeper into that. Very fascinating stuff that I missed that add to the absurdity of it. We're gonna get into that later, so please believe that. Just put a bow on that. Just remember that, and let's keep going with this article, yo. So check it out. Several of Trump's senior aides, including Rubio, the CIA chief, John Ratcliffe, and other senior national security officials have met Cuban officials in recent months in an effort to improve relations. But U.S. officials reportedly came away dissatisfied, prompting a fresh wave of sanctions against the Cuban government over the past week. Over the years, Cuba had become accustomed to buying time and waiting us out, Rubio said. They're not going to be able to wait us out or buy time. We're very serious. We're very focused. When asked whether the U.S. would use force to change Cuba's political system, Rubio repeated that a diplomatic settlement was preferred, but noted that the president always has the option to do whatever it takes to support and protect the national interest. He dismissed the reporter's suggestion that the move resembled nation building, insisting it was instead aimed at addressing a national security threat. See, that's the talk they always use when they want to go into war. Everything is a national security threat. Everything's a national security threat. But the problem that I have with these claims are, like, is this really that high on the list? Are we really going to sit here and say that Cuba really represents that much of a threat to the U.S. for real? Like, actually? Like, come on, guys. That doesn't even make sense. The U.S. has by far, and it's not even remotely close, the U.S. has the largest military in the history of the fucking world. Like, it's absolutely absurd. Military expenditure in the U.S. is north of $800 billion a year. So, what is the national security threat from Cuba that they are actually worried about? What are they talking about? What exactly are they talking about? Like, I mean, if we go back into this article, they're literally going back to a motherfucking plane crash from 1996. We're going back to 1996, fam. This is the one thing I can't fucking stand about the United States, bro. And I just can't stand the hypocrisy of a lot of my fellow Americans, my fellow fucking goofy ass, retarded ass fucking Americans. The mere fact that, like, we here in America have committed so fucking many atrocities throughout the world, throughout world history. In the 250 years that the United States has existed, so many crimes against humanity have been documented to this day. If any other country committed the atrocities that the United States has, we would look at them as the worst, most evil, diabolical savages in history. I mean, think about the fact that the United States is literally the only country in the history of the world to actually use nuclear weapons on people. I hate flying, on some real shit. I used to love flying until I experienced extreme turbulence, and I was like, fuck that shit. That shit is whack. So I already get scared on planes anyway. So I can't imagine the type of fear that people would have literally having their plane shot down. I can't even imagine it, right? That's one of the reasons why 9/11 was such a huge American event. But at the same time, and like, we live in modern times, it's supposed to be more civil, right? That's why I thought a civilization was all about civility, right? So, in other words, actually, like, saying, hey, if you have a disagreement with me, let's actually talk about it. Let's have a real conversation, and let's actually make this public so that we can try to get to the bottom of everything, so that we can get on the same page. Because if that's not the goal here, then what actually is? Anywho, let's get back to the article. So that's what this whole, like, quote unquote indictment is all about. Like, apparently fucking 30 years ago, like, I guess Castro ordered the shooting down of civilian planes flown by Miami-based exiles and shit. So, the charges filed in secret by a grand jury in April include murder and destruction of an aircraft. The Cuban president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, condemned the indictment as a political stunt designed to justify the folly of a military aggression against Cuba. The Castro indictment has fueled speculation that the Trump administration is following the same playbook it used before the operation in January that led to the capture of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, who was charged with drug trafficking, has pleaded not guilty and remains imprisoned in the U.S. Alright, so, yeah, so, I mean, it's absolutely crazy to see this political posturing. And again, what is it for? What is the ultimate goal here? That's what I wish these fools would be clear about. What is the purpose of this shit? So it says here, the U.S. military also highlighted the arrival of the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier and accompanying ships at the Caribbean Sea on the same day the charges against Castro were announced. U.S. Southern Command said the vessels were participating in maritime exercises with partners in Latin America that began in March. Rubio declined to discuss how the U.S. might seek to enforce the indictment against Castro, who turns 95 next month. Whoa. A. G. Really? We're going after a super elderly guy? Really? He turns 95? See, and this is the whole thing about all of this, this gerontocracy, right? Just as a side note, all these old people that are in power, It wouldn't be so bad if they actually knew what the hell they were talking about and knew what the hell they were doing. The mere fact that we can't get clear answers out of these people as to what exactly they're doing and why, the mere fact that none of these places, none of these fucking countries are high quality countries where people are enjoying their lives at a high level in every facet of society, goes to show you that these fools need to get the fuck out of office, okay? And mind you, I'm not an ageist. I don't give a fuck how old you are. If you know what the hell you're talking about, cool. But a lot of these fools have been in office for so fucking long, and they don't know what the hell they're actually doing. So check this out, okay? And this is one of the things about this article that I'm reading. This is the reason why I think it's important to cover this topic, because what did we know earlier? They said that Cuba represents like basically a national security threat because of their alignment with our adversaries, okay? That is a very important thing to understand, because one of the biggest issues in modern American politics is that there's always posturing for war, for military conflict, for military interventions into all these places. And there's never really a clear stated goal as to why. Right? Like, think about the fact that we have all these domestic issues that have never actually been even remotely thought to be addressed, that they could be focusing way more on, that they fail miserably to even think about touching or you know, actually getting really serious about. And so ultimately we end up in this position where we're just in a state of chaos, okay? Like this Cuba story it isn't really about Cuba, okay? It's just about a replicable escalation architecture that's being stress tested in sequence across the Western Hemisphere, and now the geometry is documented enough to name. It's a fucking 3-step process that they go into every time they want to fucking get on this type of shit, right? They'll file criminal charges against a foreign-headed state or senior official, right? They then move a carrier group to that region on the same day the charges are announced, and then they'll have somebody like the Secretary of State say on the record that diplomacy is preferred but likelihood is not high. The same type of shit that they did in Venezuela with Maduro, right? That's why I read this last section about Maduro. They did the exact same shit, right? They said, oh, he was dealing drugs, and then they went and captured them, and now he's in prison here in the U.S. So it's the same type of MO that this Trump administration has been using, okay? And it basically states in the article, it literally said in the article, yeah, this is a fucking a strategy that Trump is doing the same fucking exact shit. Okay, so I need y'all to understand that this is how the media plays fucking games. This is how politicians play fucking games, right? So they're not gonna say that this is military aggression. They'll say that this is law enforcement. You're not actually invading a country. No. See, it's a federal indictment. See, and as a wordsmith, I understand how words are used. That's why I say all the time, the First Amendment doesn't actually grant religious freedom. It's actually ambiguous on religious freedom, because it literally says that you can't make a law respecting religion or preventing freedom of practice. But that's self-contradictory. They literally cancel each other out. So things of that nature, like the words matter. Words matter. Okay, framing matters. The presentation matters. How you couch it, how you present it, how you talk about it, your tone. Every aspect of these stories matter, right? Like, when you see mainstream media, they'll present this shit like it's the most obvious, sensible things for people to do, for the administration to do. Like, it just totally, schmodally makes sense. They'll say all kinds of buzzwords and catchphrases, and ultimately, you know, people who are none the wiser just accept it at face value and don't really think too deeply into it. They just go along with the flow. But see, me, I've never been that type of person. I always see through all the bullshit, right? That's why they forced me off of TikTok, because I was making it clear, doing this exact fucking thing, showing you articles, reading directly from the article, with the article showing on the screen, so that they can't try to say, oh, we're making it up. But they would still hit us with misinformation, because we are in those Orwellian times. This is real life suppression on a fucking major scale, which is why it's so difficult to actually make inroads politically against this type of bullshit. Okay, so that's why I mentioned Marco Rubio, right? Because it's abundantly clear. Marco Rubio is not a neutral actor here. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is literally the son of Cuban immigrants. So he spent his entire political career building a domestic constituency around all these Cuba hardline politics. And now that he's in a position where he can do something about it as the Secretary of State, with the authority over the policy, he can actually try to push that shit in his position. Okay? So this is basically what I call mechanism adverse selection. The mechanism called adverse selection. And this is like basically what it says is like the path, the ascension path that produced the Secretary of State, that was selected specifically because of his political identity and his demographic, right, is like fundamentally like directly connected to Trump's policy, right? And this is something that has been an issue regardless of the party that's been in office, right? We've always maintained a hardline stance against Cuba, regardless of the policy, regardless of the party that's been in office, Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat. I will say that Obama, if I'm not mistaken, was the first to like go there or something like that, when he was in office. But still, he never let up. He never was like, hey, I'm going to meet with fucking one of the Castros or something. And I get that there's some historicity to it, right? The Bay of Pigs and all that type of shit. But it's like, at some point, motherfuckers got to let that shit go. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, it's 2026, fam. Like, why are we holding grudges? Like, what kind of immature ass shit is that? You feel what I'm saying? So check it out, right? The fact of the matter is, Castro was selected specifically because of his views, because he has the views that he has. When he gets put into the position such as what he's been put into, he executes this type of behavior because, like, that is in line with what the Trump administration wants, and it's also in line with what the U.S. has been doing this whole time, basically. It's just that Trump is kicking it into super high gear. And the reason why, and this is the real important part of this whole shit, okay? The reason why I think it's important to highlight this fact is because, I mentioned it, I touched on it a little earlier when I mentioned the Bay of Pigs, right? But obviously, the real issue with Cuba is that they actually have a connection to both China and Russia, who are our two biggest rivals, right? Obviously, China has explicitly rejected and condemned these U.S. sanctions that we've done, you know what I'm saying? And of course, they've declared their support for Cuban sovereignty. Obviously, Russia is all day like, yeah, we fuck with Cuba. And of course, they would not fuck with us. Anything we do, they don't fuck with us, especially when it comes to that. So, this is another Cold War. I mean, we've been in Cold War basically all this time. This whole thing has been nothing but a super Cold War. We all, it is so weird, right? Because Politicians of both parties have talked about this shit, have gotten into this discussion where they always purport all kinds of propaganda against the Russia, against the China, and yet then we also deal with Russia and China. So it's this weird like relationship. I don't know what this is about, man. I mean, we know what it's about. We know what it's about at the end of the day. It's always the money, the fucking business, the fucking power, the framing, you know, all this dumb shit, all this political posturing bullshit. Playing games with our fucking lives for their own personal bullshit. And it's so disgusting to see that American politics still runs like this. And they're putting us all in fucking danger. Because the moment that a motherfucker decides to act, that could cause all kinds of fucking escalation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's basically a potential tripwire for a multipolar confrontation with two nuclear powers. And who the fuck wants that? Right? Like, never mind the fact that we still even have nukes. For what? What the fuck do we need nukes for? Like, all this talk about, oh, well, if we don't have nukes, they might use theirs against us. Well, that would make them evil as fuck. The mere fact that nukes are being used as like oh, well, I don't want to fuck with them because they might use it. Dude, a gun is just as fucking dangerous. So, I don't understand it. The whole point is, we shouldn't be getting into violence in the first place. You're supposed to be diplomatic to start. You're supposed to be a diplomat! What the fuck kind of diplomat isn't diplomatic? I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And then on top of that, right, going back to the Venezuelan shit, right? Like, did that actually lead to any democratic transition? Did it make Venezuela any better? No! All it did was produce an imprisoned former president in a country that's now deeper in economic collapse. Wow, great job! I bet Venezuelans are like, yippee, thank you so much, Trump. So the track record of stated goals for this administration is 0 and 1. And so, if the Cuba operation gets actually executed, it would happen on the backdrop of both Chinese and Russian investment in the island. So that's going to just complicate things even fucking more than they already are with this China-Russia shit. Especially in light with this trip that Trump just took to China, that everybody's like, man, he really made us look stupid as fuck. Like, that's why I'm trying to figure out what's the end goal here. So, here's where the real issue lies, right? Because this is obviously coordination failure. Because ultimately, what do we ask all the time? What is the end goal here? What exactly are you trying to accomplish here? What is you trying to accomplish? So, if we had real coordination infrastructure in place, this kind of fucking military escalation against a fucking sovereign state with documented security ties to nuclear powers would require, at the fucking minimum, a binding UN Security Council process, a fucking multilateral legal review of the indictment's jurisdictional basis, and not only that, but also a formal congressional authorization for the use of military force. But obviously, none of these fucking things actually exist. So, the current architecture allows 3 fucking guys, the president, the secretary of state, and the CIA director, to say, hey, let's just initiate a military operation with the potential to start World War III. Yeah, that sounds like a fucking great idea. That sounds splendid. And one of the things we always talk about here is what I call the great filter hypothesis. So let me break it down a little bit. All right. One of the stated goals of OD9 here in the no cap zone, one of our clear goals is to prevent what's called the great filter. And I know a lot of y'all are probably, what the fuck are you talking about? So let's get into it. So, long story short, there's this astrophysicist named Enrico Fermi who is well known in the namesake of what's called the Fermi paradox, which is basically the question of where the fuck are the aliens? Where the hell are the aliens? I mean, we got all these galaxies, we got all these stars and planets and moons. The universe has been around for about 13.8 billion years, right? I mean, with these astronomical numbers, you're talking about at minimum billions of galaxies, each hosting billions of stars with a couple planets per star and who knows how many moons. You would think that the universe would be teeming with all kinds of signs of super intelligent aliens and beings all over the place, that we could just look with a telescope and we could just see all these megastructures all over the place, all these spaceships flying all over the place, that we'd be intercepting all kinds of communications from all kinds of civilizations from all over the galaxy. But we don't see that. In fact, we don't see shit. Even with all of this media and all these cameras and all this technology and all the speculation, we have no clear-cut, concrete sign of any intelligent alien anything, right? We get all of these like, UAP, a UFO. What the hell was that? It was a weird light. It was a weird thing in the sky. What the fuck is that? It looks really, really weird. But that's not enough to say that this is alien. At best, you have some form of phenomena that's not fully explained. But that's not enough to say, hey, that is an actual alien, something of alien origin. Okay, so the question is, okay, where are the aliens? And so this is the crux of what's called the Fermi paradox. Where are the aliens? So there are all kinds of potential answers that have been proposed. Well, here in the no cap zone, the main potential answer we love to focus on is what's called the great filter hypothesis. Okay? So here's the idea. Basically, there could be all kinds of civilizations all throughout the universe, all throughout the Milky Way galaxy, right? But for whatever reason, there could be some kind of event that occurs or some kind of set of circumstances that prevents intelligent alien civilizations from reaching a goal where they can become spacefaring, where they can build the type of spaceships that allow them to traverse the universe, to build things like megastructures, things that would be clearly visible with our tools if they existed in our local galaxy. So the question becomes, well, what would prevent an alien civilization from reaching this state, from reaching a high level where they can actually be advanced enough to where they could build these things like megastructures and spaceships and things that we would look at and clearly see, yeah, that's clearly not some natural shit. That is clearly something that is not natural. That is something that's artificial as fuck and is acting in behaviors that are clearly intelligent, that show that it is actually not just some phenomena, it's not just some fucking comet or asteroid floating about. It's not just some gas that's just moving really weird. No, it is clearly something intelligent and alien that is not of Earth origin. What in the fuck is that? We don't see that. We don't see that. And so the question is why? So with the great filter hypothesis, I mean, look, we only have our own civilization to look at as the only data point of life. We have yet to clearly discover any other life forms out in the universe. So we only have ourselves to go by. But if we look at our society, and this is why I think it's so fucking important that we actually take a realistic look at reality and our current state objectively, we will see that there are all kinds of potential dangers that can threaten our collective existence, not just in terms of, us individually, but us as a species, as life forms on Earth, and perhaps even in the universe, right? So, this is at the crux of what's called the Great Filter Hypothesis. The idea that civilizations, for whatever reason, they collapse. They fail to prevent events that ultimately cause their collective demise. Whether you're talking about a biological outbreak, a viral outbreak, some kind of asteroidal impact, right? Some kind of environmental cataclysm like climate change or volcanic eruption, or perhaps they could be the cause of their own demise. They could be themselves their own cause of their own demise for whatever reason, right? A topic called MAD, mutually assured destruction, basically nuclear exchanges that are so devastating that they completely fucking alternate America's climate moving forward, causing, what they call nuclear winter or whatever, devastating society and civilization. These kinds of things could fuck us up and not only just set us back, but they could destroy civilization permanently. And so, considering the fact that these are potential dangers to human civilization right now, and we don't even talk about this, let alone actually have rational discussions legislatively about how to address and basically solve these things, we don't even talk about it. So, if we could see how, like for instance, if we found out right now that a fucking asteroid was hurtling towards us right now, would we have the ability to prevent it, to stop it from hitting us? Right? They've made movies about this Deep Impact, fucking Armageddon, right? That's what these movies have been, and they came out around the same time, which is so crazy. But it's like, think about the fact that these are 90s movies and it's 2026 and we still don't have a concrete infrastructure from preventing such a cataclysm from happening right now. That if we found out that those kind of asteroids and depicted in those movies were hurtling towards Earth, would we be able to stop them right now? The mere fact that you can't answer that question goes to show you the dangers of the times that we're living in. And if these are the kinds of issues that we could be facing right now, and we don't even remotely talk about how to shore those things up, then it makes sense as to how, if there were other civilizations like us out there somewhere, they would have the same type of issues, that they would have the same kind of corrupt fucking administrative leadership that does everything to prevent work from being done. If we wanted to try to make something happen right now, how would we go about doing that? Right? Like, the fact that we don't have an international coordination mechanism to prevent this kind of escalation from happening goes to show you that all these countries, particularly our country, the leaders of our country are acting lawlessly. They spit in the face of this fucking thing called the Constitution. They always trample all over, and this has been the course for every administration. I mean, every administration. This is not unique to Trump. These are things that even Obama, Biden, all these fools have trampled all over the Constitution. Right? Obviously, Bush. What? Bush, man. Bruh. We could go all day. But the fact of the matter is, if all these fuckers claim that they're trying to, I mean, what exactly are they trying to do? Because, see, to me, shit like this is the reason why nation states are an antiquated concept anyway. Because one of the major issues that we have in the modern time, like we were just talking about the asteroid issue, right? Or mutually assured destruction. These are clear problems of coordination failure. These are the clear examples of coordination failure. See, we as a society, I think, should be working to address these very things. Why would we want to put our own mere existence up for fucking fate? Why would we want to leave it up to fate when we can take control? This is one of the reasons why I always talk about the Kardashev scale, which is actually a direct connection to the Fermi paradox, right? So when we talk about megastructures and spaceships and stuff like that, they are examples of what would be called Kardashev type 2 plus society. So there's this astrophysicist named Nikolai Kardashev, right? I guess you could say in response to the whole Fermi paradox, who came up with the scale for assessing the level of advancement of civilizations based on their energy output, right? So I had a member in my Discord who always talk about how much she fucking hates this metric, and I on one hand I kind of understand, but on the other hand I don't. So the fact of the matter is, if there were higher level civilizations that existed, how would we be able to tell? How would we be able to tell? This is why this fucking goofy that I was just talking about, she pissed me off. She had to move the fuck around. Bye, bitch. But the fact of the matter is, well, you can tell by the amount of energy that they're able to output, right? So this Kardashev scale, which is named after the Soviet astronomer named Nikolai Kardashev, he came up with this scale to basically rank what a civilization's level of advancement would be based on their capabilities, based on their energy output. So the original scale has 3 levels: a type 1, a type 2, a type 3. We here on Earth, us Earthlings, we would not rank on this list. We would be sub type 1. Right now we're about a 0.7 on the scale. We're on our way to potentially being type 1, but we're not being quite there. And what does that mean? So a type 1 civilization would be able to harness the total energy output of their home planet. A type 2 civilization would be able to harness the total energy output of their host star. So like our sun, us being able to fucking harness the energy of the sun. So kind of like nuclear fusion, I guess, but you know, it's much more complicated than that. I'm not a physicist, so I leave that up to the physicists to get on the particulars. But essentially, a type 3 Kardashev civilization would be able to harness the total energy output of their entire galaxy. So any civilization that would be along the lines of this scale would theoretically have such advancement that they would be capable of these things. So that's why when I talk about what exactly are we doing, these are the kinds of things that an advanced civilization would be talking about and answering and implementing so that they would be advancing and accomplishing things on this type of scale, because they actually have a focus of what to do and how to do it and have a reason, a purpose for doing it. And to me, that purpose would be actually attempting to master our reality, right? And that's not just some speculative phrasing. It's not some vague deepity. We're talking about using the scientific method to understand our reality as much as possible, to understand the substrate of reality as much as possible, to figure out the theory of everything, to understand how deep the rabbit hole goes of the cosmos and quantum physics and all that type of shit, to try to actually understand as much as we can about everything. All right? But we can't do that without understanding that the scientific method is our greatest tool for accomplishing that. Okay, so it is my opinion that these should be our stated goals: to master our reality, to see how deep the rabbit hole goes, to become what's called a Kardashev Omega type civilization. Obviously, it's hyper theoretical and all that type of shit, but ultimately, it's the alleged state when you pretty much figured out everything, when you pretty much understood, okay, this is the totality of existence. You've understood practically every phenomena and every aspect of the substrate of reality, and there's really no much further to go. There's nothing much further to discover. You pretty much have it all figured out. You can't do that if you're not being real, if you're not being realistic about reality. And one of the biggest aspects of this is the religious aspect of this. And this is going to lead to the transition to what I'm also going to talk about today, which actually ties in greatly with the story I was talking about yesterday. We're going to get deeper into that, but before we get there, first let's just see something here. Let's just see something here. So check it out. So, of course, because Marco Rubio is Hispanic, he is, of course, a practicing Catholic. Baptized as a child, but he also spent time in the Mormon church during his youth and has attended the Southern Baptist megachurch. His faith has played a significant role in his life and career. And we don't have to even mention fucking Trump because we know Trump is a super duper Christy Christian, you know? And so the reason why this is important is because Christianity is false. Straight like that. Not a single Christian could demonstrate any of their sci-fi fantasy nonsense. If they could, they would, but they can't, so they don't. They won't, they never will, it will never happen. We can just, they might as well just pack it up because they have nothing and they never will. I don't even understand how in 2026 these people are still allowed to open their mouths and say anything about anything because they have never ever demonstrated a single shred of whatever the fuck they've ever talked about, right? So I wanted to bring this story back up, right? The story about the former Livermore LDS bishop who was charged with sexually abusing minors decades ago, okay? So, the reason why I want to talk about this story again is because I didn't read too deep into it, right? I mean, I pretty much took it at face value just concerning, oh, another fucking Christian leader getting caught for the same fucking shit until I realized that this story actually goes a little deeper. So, I'm going to read this article a little bit. So, if you don't like articles, then bear with me, you fuck. But if you're here, it's mostly because you like what I have to say. But check it out. So, this is from yesterday by CBS News, right? Former Livermore LDS bishop charged with sexually abusing minors decades ago by Carlos E. Castaneda, updated yesterday at 4:42 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which I think is 6:42 p.m. Central Time. Anyway, so, a former bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was charged with sexually abusing minors in Livermore during the 1990s and early 2000s, authorities said. On Thursday, Alameda County District Attorney Ursula Jones Dixon announced that Michael DeLar Morris was arraigned Wednesday on 18 felony counts of non-forcible sexual assault involving 4 separate victims. The alleged crimes happened approximately between 1991 and 2001, while Morris served as an LDS bishop in Livermore and supervised a church-affiliated boys' youth group, according to press release. And this is, of course, the fucking loser, right? So, blah, 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 same old thing. People under the age of 16. Several special allegations filed. DA's office said the case was investigated by more than one law enforcement agency. All right. So basically, same old, okay? But then check this out, man. This is the part that's crazy. So apparently, and and I need to see if I can find an article about this specific aspect. Um, Give me a second here. Bear with me, folks. So apparently, right? Um, Let me see if they name it. So apparently there's a helpline for the church for these kinds of situations, but it's a crazy thing because it ends up causing more problems than it solves. Oh look, check this out. There's a whole website specifically dedicated to reports on allegations of sex crimes involving members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and are alleged responses by church officials. I guess I need to fucking bookmark this motherfucker. Um, God damn, look, it says footlit.org. It says their database contains information on over 4,200 instances of sex crimes allegedly perpetrated by members of the Mormon Church. I think it's supposed to say members of the Mormon Church, including 138 former Latter-day Saint bishops. The numbers continue to grow daily as Floodlit processes submitted information and conducts further research. That is so fucking crazy, yo. Um, yeah. I'm trying to find the part about the helpline. I'm looking for it. See, because there's like a BBC article about it that goes into it, but of course it's fucking paywalled, so I can't look at it. So I have to try to find another article that talks about that aspect of it, so I can show y'all. Of course, you're gonna be hard pressed to find a fucking mainstream article about it. Um, God damn, this shit is fucking bullshit. Um, Cause they all say the same fucking shit. Um, District Attorney's Office. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Pop up. Yeah, they're not talking about it. Damn, I wish I could pull up the BBC article. But look, I'm gonna just tell y'all. Okay, so wait, hold on. Let me see if I can try this. Hold on. So let me see. So they apparently So apparently 12 states have an abuse protocol specifically like for this type of shit. Let me see if I can find something about that. See, it's always hard trying to find this kind of data. Why do you think that is? I want y'all to understand why this shit is hard to find. Because they don't want it public, fam. Even though these stories happen, they don't want all these different aspects being publicized that much. That's why all these different organizations, or I should say all these media companies, they'll cover these stories, but they don't actually like publicize them like that, right? Yeah, this shit. So like I said, apparently 12 state. I need to find an article specific or something specifically saying this, so that y'all know I'm not just making it up. So y'all just gonna have to bear with me real quick. They said the AP said something about it. Let me see if they have it. Okay, here we go. Except this doesn't deal exactly with this case, but it highlights what I'm talking about. So this is an article from August 4th, 2022 on AP, the Associated Press, by Michael Resendez, okay, published at 6:02 a.m. that day. All right. The article is called Four Takeaways from AP's Mormon Church Sex Abuse Investigation. And it starts off when an Arizona bishop in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, widely known as the Mormon Church, learned that a member of his ward was sexually assaulting his 5-year-old daughter, he followed church policy and called the Mormon Abuse Helpline. The bishop later told law enforcement that church attorneys in Salt Lake City, who staffed the helpline around the clock, said that because he learned of the abuse during a counseling session the church considers a spiritual confession, he was legally bound to keep the abuse secret. This is exactly what the fuck I was looking for. This is exactly the type of shit I'm talking about. And this directly ties into this story about Michael Morris Goofy. Okay, so check this out. This is precisely the important news that y'all need to understand. And trust me, I'm going to be showing y'all this a lot more going forward, okay? So check it out. Paul Douglas Adams, a U.S. Border Patrol employee living with his wife and 6 children in Bisbee, Arizona, continued abusing his daughter, his own daughter, for as many as 7 more years, and went on to abuse a second daughter. He finally stopped in 2017 with no help from the church, only because he was arrested. Isn't that fucking crazy? Isn't that insane? See, this is why the Constitution does not grant you religious freedom. It literally says in the first fucking amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So the fact of the matter is, like I said, those two things cancel out. Because obviously you can't have free religion. You can't. You just can't. Because this is the type of shit that's going to happen. But get this. It says right here, the Associated Press obtained thousands of pages of sealed court documents that show in detail exactly how the church's quote-unquote helpline can divert abuse complaints away from law enforcement, leaving children in danger. The clergy penitent privilege. All right? Matter of fact, we don't need to read all that. But let's look at this. Arizona's child sex abuse reporting law and similar laws in more than 20 states says clergy, physicians, nurses, or anyone caring for a child who reasonably believes the child has been abused or neglected has a legal obligation to report the information to police or the State Department of Child Safety. But it also says the clergy who receive information about child neglect or sexual abuse during spiritual confessions may withhold that information from authorities if the clergy determine it is reasonable and necessary under church doctrine. That is crazy. That's fucking crazy. And therein lies the exact fucking problem, folks. Right there. Because I don't know if you know this, it's never reasonable or necessary. It's not reasonable or necessary. It's neither reasonable nor necessary to withhold this information from the authorities. Because if y'all claim that y'all care so much about morality, one would think that the well-being and welfare of children would be like pretty fucking high on that list. So when you're actually advocating for things that would actually like harm children further than you are already harming them, then that is a major fucking problem. But get this. This is one thing I love, and this is why Christianity is hypocritical and crap and garbage and a scam. Right here. An Arizona attorney who was defending the bishops in the church in a lawsuit filed by 3 of the Adams children, told the AP that Herod and Mosey, and by extension the church, were acting within the law and in accordance with their quote-unquote religious principles. These bishops did nothing wrong. They didn't violate the law, and therefore they can't be held liable. He also called the Adams children's lawsuit a money grab. That is fucking disgusting. I am absolutely disgusted that these weirdos actually have the fucking gall to open their fucking bitch ass mouths and say crazy shit like that when this is the reality of their bullshit, disgusting community and their disgusting behavior, their disgusting policies that are based on a fucking scam. Check it out. The helpline, this wonderfully and amazing helpline, right? The Associated Press obtained nearly 12,000 pages of sealed records from an unrelated child sex abuse lawsuit against the Mormon Church in West Virginia, which show that the helpline is part of a system that can easily be misused by church leaders to divert abuse accusations against church members away from law enforcement and instead to church attorneys who may bury the problem, leaving victims in harm's way. It was established in 1995, guess when? When legal claims of sex abuse against churches were on the rise. Oh my God. See, I'm not laughing because this is in any way a laughing matter. It is absolutely not. I'm laughing because of the outright absurdity, the literal absurdity, the gall of any and everybody that is even remotely connected to this in any way. That this is what they do and have the gall in modern time to say even the word morality to anyone outside of their fucking crazy community. that they are literally engaging in antisocial behavior that put the most vulnerable among us in harm's way. And then they use their disgusting psyop, their sci-fi fantasy scam, as the mechanism as to why these children need to continuously be harmed. That's why I'm so fucking glad that I found this, because this is literal reporting. This is excellent investigative journalism. Why is this not talked about as much as anything, any news story? Diddy, Nancy Guthrie, right? This isn't like a small portion of the population. This is a huge aspect of society, a huge portion of society. When you talk about 4,000 cases and rising, and that, oh, when stories start coming out, that's when they start implementing these fucking things. And this helpline is supposed to, I guess, help people, but it does the opposite. It literally hurts society. So check it out. It says right here, when the social workers receive calls about abuse that may present a risk to the church, such as abuse committed by prominent church members, abuse perpetrated during church activities, or especially egregious instances of abuse, the calls are referred to attorneys with the Salt Lake City law firm Curtin McConkie. The church maintains that all calls referred to the attorneys are protected by attorney-client privilege, leaving no record of the accusations accessible to prosecutors or victims' attorneys. Wow. Wow. So this is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. And so going back to that story about Michael Morris. Michael Morris is just another microcosm of the bigger problem, the bigger story, the story that I missed because of the fucking paywall of BBC, right? But as we saw, this is how the LDS Church and largely the entire Christianity as a whole, this is how they operate. This is how they operate. So, again, first of all, what the fuck is the purpose of the LDS Church? What do they actually do? What do they actually accomplish? What is the value that they supposedly provide to society? Because I haven't seen anything at all. I ain't seen nothing. So, think about this, right? This organization, and all Christian organizations, they all claim to have this super duper super connection with this ultimate super duper super thing that they're always obsessed over, and yet they need to have these kinds of fucking helplines to act as a buffer between them and law enforcement. Why? Because the Constitution does not grant you religious freedom. It doesn't actually grant you religious freedom. It grants you religious freedom in terms of you can subscribe to whatever bullshit you want to. That doesn't mean that you get to do whatever the fuck you want in the name of that bullshit. That's why we need laws. That's why we have laws. Because if we left it up to these fucking loonies, this is the kind of behavior that they would engage in. This is the kind of behavior they do engage in with law enforcement established. So just imagine how fucking literally lawless, how literally fucking lawless they would be if we didn't have law enforcement. If we didn't have laws to begin with. If we left it up to the Lord. Think of how many children would be getting harmed on a constant basis with none of these laws in place, with none of this infrastructure in place to prevent them from engaging in this behavior, right? So this fucking helpline, it's ironic it's called a helpline because it only helps the perpetrators. These bishops, these pastors, who the fuck are they? What the hell makes them so fucking special? What exactly do they accomplish at all? Ever? What exactly do they fucking accomplish? Not a goddamn thing. They claim they have this special connection to this special super thing. And yet 0% of them have actually demonstrated that at all. So the helpline itself is the coordination failure in and of itself. Because think about it. This is how the system works, okay? A child or a family member goes to a bishop. They say, hey, Bishop so-and-so hurt my child. That other bishop, they call the helpline, like, yo, what do I do? I was just told so-and-so did such and such. What do we do? And they're told, shh, don't tell nobody. Right? This is their formal policy. This is literally how they get down, fam. Every day. And it's so absolutely frustrating because personally, this is easily avoidable, avoidable, right? Because none of these institutions have any justification for your support of them, for your membership, for your choosing to support them, to give them your time, your effort, your energy, and your money, your resources. For what? I mean, this is literally coordination failure formalized into a policy. The person with the information goes to fucking the people with the data, and they're separated by a legal firewall that insulates them. Now think about it, right? These are supposed to be the super duper highly moral character people of the world. They're supposed to be super duper super special. They're supposed to be guided by some super duper super force of some kind, some super phenomenon of some kind that they always talk about that does this and does that and acts like this and acts like that and wants them to do this and act like that. And yet, it never, A, prevents any of this behavior, B, incentivizes them to report this behavior when it is discovered, and C, actually punishes the people, the perpetrators of this behavior without law enforcement having to get involved. The mere fact that states have to pass laws to target this kind of helpline bullshit goes to show you how actually evil the LDS church is and all of this Christian shit. Because these helplines do exactly what we thought they would do. I mean, I could have told you, even without reading this story, if you would have told me that the helpline, I could have told you, yeah, this is par for the course. Yeah, this is what they would do. But the question is why? Why would they need this help? Why would they have this helpline? Because the thing is, they put a lot of money, a lot of resources into these helplines, into this kind of infrastructure of defending these perpetrators and this behavior. But why? Why do they do that? But it's clear. It's fucking clear because one of the things is Guess what? They love rape! They love rape! They love raping children. They actually love being in a position where they can rape all the children that they want. In fact, I am willing to say, I am willing to go as far as to say, it is literally perfect for child rapists. You want to have access to children? Say, hey, the Lord told me. People are so fucking gullible. People love subscribing to the sci-fi fantasy craziness. Hell, I subscribed to it for 6 years of my life. I mean, these are the types of things that get promoted as fucking super duper highly moral values, highly accurate worldviews, useful worldviews, helpful worldviews, beautiful worldviews. Like literally, like, oh my god, this is the way that people should live. These are the ideas that people should subscribe to. So much so that literally billions of them around the world subscribe to these ideas. But the only problem is these ideologies have allowed this kind of behavior to persist for so fucking long. And for a group that claims to be so moral, I can't comprehend how they can even remotely argue that any of this is moral in any way, shape, or form. And regardless of the bullshit excuses as for why it happens, the real issue for me, the real indictment to me of Christianity is the fact that despite 2.4 billion Christians existing throughout the world, 200 million of whom exist here in the United States of America, between the billions and millions of them, zero of them have a solution for any of this, despite them all being directly connected to the super duper ultimate super weapon, the super intelligent Jesus GPT app, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit app, the super intelligent super thing, the fucking super LLM of all LLMs, right? Makes Claude look like just some dude. How is it possible that so many people can subscribe to this craziness that they claim is the truth, and none of them can figure out any kind of solutions with this super truth? They claim that this thing that they obsess over all the time, this supernatural thing or whatever that is supposed to be so great, they always fail miserably to demonstrate that this thing actually exists at all. They can't show us anything about it. But what they can show us is their inability to address any of this shit in any serious manner, despite billions of these people around the entire world, okay? I mean, think about the fact that the Australia Royal Commission examined the fucking Latter-day Saints church practices directly, right? And they found that this fucking confession privilege fucking architecture produced extended abuse windows. I mean, we're talking about for fucking decades, fam. They have been on this shit for a long time. And this isn't just them, right? Obviously the Catholics are, I mean, way outweigh them. But this is a problem of Christianity. It doesn't matter what your fucking belief system is, what your brand of delusion is. Zero of them have produced any kind of real solution at all. You would think that with so many millions of people working interdependently with synergy connected to the super intelligent super thing, they would have solved this. Matter of fact, this wouldn't even be an issue. I mean, you would think America would be a utopia by now. You would think that United States would be like the country of countries, that literally everybody around the world would be scrambling to come here because, you know, the United States would be such a fucking great place to live. But what do I show y'all all the time? What do I show y'all all the time? I show y'all the Global Peace Index, which ranks 163 countries based on their level of peace, with number 1 being the most peaceful and number 163 being the least peaceful. And what you can clearly see is that the United States is not anywhere near the top. You're looking at the top 10, and what you don't see is the United States there. In fact, if we scroll and scroll and scroll, keep scrolling, yeah, keep scrolling, what? Keep scrolling, come on! You find that we are at 128 on this list, the United States. We are so fucking low. Kenya is above us, okay? Like, I mean, talk about American exceptionalism. Yeah, we're exceptional fucking failures, okay? And I could go into this. We've gone through it more than enough. You can check it out on your own time. If you're ever interested, you can just go to visionofhumanity.org. Visionofhumanity.org/maps to go specifically to this map so you can see it all for yourself. You can click on all these different fucking countries and you can look at their metrics and see why they're ranked so fucking highly versus why we are ranked so fucking lowly. Okay? So, the fact of the matter is this. Considering that America is supposed to be the greatest country in the world and all these Christians are all over the country. I mean, 2/3 of the country are Christians. 2/3. You would think that we would at least be like in the top 50. At least. I mean, well, I should say the top 100. We can't even crack the top 100. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. And we can't crack the top 100 on this list. That's a goddamn fucking shame. But when you see the Cuba stories like we talked about, when you see all this rape, rampant child rape, all these Christian leaders and all these religious leaders all over the fucking country, well, it kind of helps to see why we're not at the fucking near the top. Despite all these Christian Jesus freaks all over the fucking place, right? And so that's why I wanted to bring that story up because it's bad enough. Okay, yeah, you're going to have Christianity become a miserable failure like they always are, right? That these stories exist. But I missed this aspect of the story, that they have that helpline that actually helps the rapists get away with the rape as opposed to helping the victims not be victims. That's why it is so demoralizing, because we see so many times, so often, all of these ridiculous institutions that act like they care so much about society, that claim they care so much about morality, and yet the only thing that we see on a constant basis is them getting caught for all kinds of sexual abuses and failing to actually address it. I mean, every single day we find all kinds of news stories, right? Like, check this out. We got a news story. As always, because like I said, we could do this every day. Can't remember. I might have covered this. I'm not sure. Because I've talked about Assemblies of God earlier in the week. But let's check it out. There's a video. Oh, look, Savannah Guthrie. Hey, Savannah. How's your mom? Oh, my bad. Was that insensitive? Yeah, anywho. My bad. By the way, I just wanted to state for the record, she's a Christian, by the way. You don't say! Wait. Time out. What do you mean change from the top? What do you mean change from the top? What? Wait, time out. Change from the top. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree they need some change for the top, but I don't think that it's at the top where they think the same way I think. See, they think, oh, if they change the leadership, if they change the the staff membership, if they swap out this guy for that guy, this dude for that chick, that's somehow good. Nah, you gotta go all the way to the top. The supposed man upstairs, yeah, change that motherfucker out too. Because how do you get these stories if this thing that supposedly like keeps y'all in line like doesn't at all? How is that even remotely possible? How are these stories possible if the super intelligent super thing is super duper? How the fuck are these stories happening constantly? What is the point in subscribing to your craziness if this is the type of shit that people are gonna get out of it? But anywho, let's get back to it. Sorry. God damn. God damn. Look at this map. Like, yo. Hey. If you're an American, you should be disgusted. You should be completely, absolutely disgusted. You know, or I should say, if you're a sane American, if you're an American who cares about the youth, the children, the vulnerable, yeah, this should disgust you. Especially considering that this is all happening in the name of the Lord, the supposed Lord that's so super duper, superly duperly duper, that's, oh my God, is so wonderful and amazing. Why the fuck, if it's so super duper, why the fuck would it allow this shit to happen in the fucking first place? How could it allow this kind of map to exist? If it wanted to sell the idea that it was so superly duper, this is not the kind of map that you want to have exist, reflecting you and your weak ass community. If I knew I had a community where even one person got hurt like this, nah, we gotta get to the bottom of this. We can't have a fucking community where people are actually being harmed and we ain't doing shit about it, even though we supposedly have the super duper powers, the superpowers of all powers to stop all of this shit, to prevent all of this shit in the fucking first place. The fact that this shit continuously persists, despite all of these Christians, I mean, we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry, with literally billions of fucking people around the entire world and 200 million Christians here in the United States. How is it that 200 million people can be such consistent fucking failures? If this shit is supposedly so real as they claim. I don't fucking get it. What is the point in subscribing to this fucking crazy shit if this is what you get from it? If you are a parent, why the hell would you put your children in this position to where they could be one of these fucking getting fucked by one of these dots, getting raped by one of these piece of shit dots, and for what? For what? For a fucking fleeting feeling so that you can feel the feels? So that you can feel the spiritual miracle, spiritual fucking bullshit miracle? What the fuck miracle is that? What is the fucking miracle? And why should we give a fuck? What's the fucking point? What's the value? I don't get it. I'm sorry. it just disgusts me that it's 2026. This is 2026, fam. I mean, look at the date. Look at the date, fam. This is today. Today. May 22nd, 2026. This morning at 11:32 a.m. And we're still having these things happen every day. And these loonies are still out here engaging in this behavior. And so fucking many people nationwide are just, I don't know if they're just none the wiser, if they're unwilling to do anything, or worse, if this is what they all want, if this is just how they want to conduct themselves. Because why would this shit persist if this isn't what they were all about? But let's just finish the video. I'm sorry, y'all. Nice. 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 Praise the Lord. Praise Jesus. Oh, well, that just about solves it. The Lord said it was a misunderstanding. Where the fuck is this Lord thing at, by the way? Where exactly is it so it can actually confirm with us that that's what it said? Because I didn't hear that. I wasn't told that. The Lord didn't tell me that. The Lord told me something different. Yeah. The Lord told me that you're full of shit and it doesn't believe you. So let's actually let's see if we can all collectively contact this Lord. Let's try to get on the press. Yeah. Let's do a press conference or a group call or something where we can get to the bottom of this in a public setting where the Lord could either confirm or deny these bullshit ass claims that you made. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's finish this shit. You don't say. Wait. Time out. Why didn't the Lord tell you? Why didn't the Lord give you a revelation or some shit? Aren't you in direct command, direct connection, direct fucking interface with the Lord? Isn't the Lord omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent? So the Lord was present. So the Lord was there. So the Lord is with you in there. So it should be able to report to you, hey, some shit happening over here, fam. And then you should be able to be like, oh, shit, problem over there. And then you can solve it, and then you can fucking save the day, and you can attribute it to the Lord. And then you can show me how actually the power of the Lord Jesus Christ is actually useful because you actually used it for something useful. But nah, that's never the case. Oh, he just didn't know. Of course you didn't. Of fucking course you didn't. And even if I granted you that you really actually didn't know, which I highly doubt, y'all bitch ass niggas will never get the benefit of the doubt from me. But even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt on that, it still goes to show you your miserable failure. Because if your belief system was so fucking true, then how the fuck does this shit happen in the first place? How are y'all constantly being put in this position where you have to answer for this kind of shit? And it makes you look bad. You have to know this is horrendously disgusting press. This is not good press. This is not a good look at all to even be remotely connected to this type of shit. The fact that anybody could even claim, could make a case that you knew this whole time and you were harboring and helping these fucking weirdos. Like the fact that this has been par for the course for Christianity all this time. This whole entire time. The same MO as the Catholic Church with the fucking spotlight, right? The same shit the LDS Church does, the same thing all these Christian denominations, sects, or fucking even as they like to call the cults. Because to me, I don't differentiate. They're all the same. They're all just one giant fucking cult. Zero of them can demonstrate any of their sci-fi fantasy nonsense. The fact that like the fanfic versions of the mainstream versions, like the fact that the mainstream versions can say that the fanfic versions are bullshit because they just don't like it. It's so crazy. Like as if their crazy shit is even somehow any more sensible when zero of these fucking loonies can demonstrate any of their sci-fi fantasy bullshit. Okay, I'm sorry. This shit is crazy. Nice. Praise Jesus. Praise the Lord. Of course. Cappity fucking cap. Oh, let me just know. That is a lie. If they were actually committed to child safety, they would disband completely. If they really cared about child safety, they would say, you know what? We're done with this crap. This is a scam. We were making hella money bullshitting y'all. We don't really believe this shit. This shit is bullshit. It doesn't help anything. We made some good money, but look, we actually care about children's safety, so we can't in good conscience continue to operate, helping to protect these fucking predators, allowing them to continue to get paid and continue to prey on children. We're gonna just completely dissolve as an organization. We're gonna give all of our money to all the fucking scientific organizations and charities that actually help people so that we can stop being pieces of shit that allow children to get harmed. That's never gonna fucking happen. Oh my god. Wait. They don't already have that shit? They don't already have that shit? Like, what the fuck? But, of course not, right? But the bigger problem is, where the fuck is the Lord in all of this? I'm still trying to figure that part out. Like, why would they even need background checks if they have the Lord? Doesn't the Lord have the entire fucking, like, employment roster? Does he have a giant list of all of his soldiers that he could say, hey, nah, yes, alright, hey, this guy right here, this is him. That's the guy to pick. He's cool. He ain't gonna have us out here looking so super bad. Nah, that never happens. It's always the same case. They always gotta commit to children's safety, all this type of shit, while they continuously fail, right? I showed y'all that other article. That shit was from 2022. It's 2026. The same shit is still happening. The exact same shit. Still fucking happening. Children still getting harmed. Pastors and priests and bishops and losers of all kinds still getting protected. And no Jesus anywhere to be fucking found. So what is the value of this shit? Let's just finish it. The last 30 seconds. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta hear that one more time. But what about the Lord? Fuck all the churches and all these fucking weirdos and all this fucking loser shit. Where's the Lord? I thought that was the whole point of all of this shit. Was that there was this super duper super lord thing that was like super amazing and wonderful and all that stuff, and it's like just so great and amazing and wonderful and the great and amazing and wonderful, and that's what y'all were doing all of this shit for. Like, so why is it not anywhere to be found, preventing these weirdos from engaging in this behavior, stopping losers from harming kids, stopping losers from getting in positions to harm kids, stopping losers just period? Why is it that this shit continuously happens despite the fact that it is 2026 and this shit is supposedly true? How can they continue opening their mouth? How can Savannah Guthrie sit there and still be a Christian? Knowing her mom is gone, right? Never heard from again. And this shit continuously happens. It literally sickens me to see Christians continuously support this kind of behavior, to make excuses for this kind of behavior, while accomplishing not a goddamn thing for society. They think that just because they think they're a good person, therefore they're a good person. They think that because they engage in useless ass behavior like saying, please Lord Jesus, please Lord Jesus, thank you Heavenly Father, holding hands, singing songs, somehow they think that that's accomplishing shit. Meanwhile, children are getting raped, rapists are getting away with it, and no Jesus is anywhere to be found. So I'm still trying to figure out what is the actual value of this belief. Who does it actually help? How does it help us as a society? How does it help strengthen our social fabric? Because if it actually did that, we wouldn't have these stories. We wouldn't have stories like this. We wouldn't have stories like the Cuba situation, where they're potentially escalating conflicts that could be devastating to humanity, to our existence, to our quality of life. They would actually be able to demonstrate how they actually help improve our collective quality of life. In fact, our lives should just be amazing. All of our lives. Like, we should not be having all these conflicts. What these people said were true, right? They talk about how the Lord is a God of peace and shit like that, and yet Jesus freaks tend to be the biggest war fucking criminals in the history of the world. I saw something earlier about how there was some protester with a sign saying that Trump was a war criminal. I'm like, while I, of course, agree, I hate the fact that people miss that all presidents, all POTUSes are war criminals. They've committed all kinds of egregious acts against humanity. They've killed so many innocent people. They've engaged in torture and excused torture, right? Bush was known for Abu Ghraib and all that type of shit, and Obama swept that shit on the rug and said, hey, we got to move forward. We got to look forward, not backward. That bullshit. That evil shit. While himself bombing fucking families at weddings and shit. Torturing Chelsea Manning for revealing government misconduct. Right? Military officials attacking emergency care service people. You attack the person who leaked it, not the people who did the shit. It just goes to show you how warped the values are of these super psychotic Christians. Their entire worldview is completely warped. Their moral view is disgusting. If this is considered morals to you, move the fuck around, fam. Fuck your moral system. If this is what you consider morals, you are a piece of shit. All of y'all. All of you who subscribe to this shit, who allow this shit to happen, who have kept silent about this shit, who continuously fail to fucking report this shit, who fail to see the failure of your belief system to prevent this shit from happening in the first place. Why would you want to be in this precarious position where you have to account for these kinds of behaviors constantly, every single day? Because I'm letting you know right now, you are always going to hear from me. That much is true. You can bet your ass that whenever these stories come out, I'm going to be here to talk about it. Trust and believe that. So the fact of the matter is, Christianity is the biggest failure in the history of the fucking world. It is coordination failure in the worst sense I've ever fucking seen. Literally. All these children getting raped and all these people failing to stop it. I mean, all of them. They come together and they act so smug about it. That's the part that makes it so frustrating. They act so smug about it. They act like it makes so much sense to freely express their religious sci-fi fantasy bullshit. They get mad at people like me for daring to fucking challenge them and demonstrate their constant failures every single day. To demonstrate how they fail to demonstrate a shred of their theological claims. They have nothing. They have literally absolutely nothing. It's absolutely crazy how billions of people can purport an ideology that is non-existent, that's non-demonstrable, that's zero. I mean, literally 0.000000000% of these people can demonstrate it all. I mean, not one. All it takes is one single Christian, one time, to show us the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is actually a real person in real life that exists in reality, that does these things that they claim that he does, that can be used to accomplish the things that they claim he can be used to accomplish. They are liars. They are delusional. They are out of their fucking minds. This shit is cap. And that's why I created the No Cap Zone, to explain to people that this type of cap can no longer persist. It can no longer continue to exist. People cannot continue to keep purporting this bullshit and thinking that they should be allowed to freely do so without any challenge. Nope, sorry. Won't let it happen. And I don't care how mad you get. I don't care how sad you get. I don't care how much it hurts you. I don't care how much it offends you. Tough shit. You know what offends me? Seeing children getting raped. Seeing women getting raped, seeing women putting them, seeing parents putting their children, because I don't want to discriminate. It's just the reason why I cite women specifically concerning this is because, and I'm going to show you this right now, because I love to show y'all this. This is from a website called notinourchurch.com. And it says right here, according to the late A.W. Richard Sipe, the sexual exploitation of women by priests is not uncommon. Other researchers have argued that misconduct by clerics toward women is even more prevalent than their sexual abuse of children. According to research cited in When Pastors Pray, a publication of the World Council of Churches, 90 to 95% of victims of clergy sexual exploitation are women. So that's why it literally sickens me. That's why I single out women. This isn't no incel, women hate, women, misogynist bullshit. It's the exact opposite, right? It's to try to liberate women from an evil, anti-women, misogynist, incel rape culture. I mean, we're talking about literally the greatest rape culture in the fucking world. I mean, think about the fact that this website, right, notinourchurch.com, right? And I show y'all this all the time, but it's just to highlight just how preposterous this website, not just this website, but this Christian community is, okay? Because the person that created this website literally says that their mission is to help churches become unattractive environments for predatory abusers by putting awareness, prevention, and healing resources in one place. And see, they failed. The church is literally the place for predators to go, because that's where predators are protected the most, right? People in regular society, right, when it comes to pedophilia or just any of those kind of sex crimes, hebephilia, phebophilia, all that type of shit that involves minors, like, people get super duper emotional and incensed every time you see a story where it's just some guy getting caught for the same behavior, right? Like for instance, if I pulled up, if I just looked up sexual assault, if I just looked up sexual assault and went to the news and just pulled up a story about, let's say, here, right? Like, if we just mention a story such as this, Buffalo County Attorney's Office chooses not to press charges on officer who resigned from Lincoln Police amid sexual assault investigation, right? So, obviously, this story will probably be panned a bit, But for the most part, I think most people would generally be like, oh my God, this guy, he's a piece of shit. Oh my God, this cop, he should never be in the badge ever again. Blah, blah, blah. And of course, these are things I would agree with. Most people, most normal people would agree with, right? But when you type in Christian sexual assault and you pull up these fucking Christians engaging in this exact same behavior, all of a sudden people get kind of quiet. People ain't as forceful as they once was. People ain't got that same kind of energy no more. People ain't coming with that same fire. They ain't coming with that same passion. They ain't talking about, oh, motherfucking pastor, priest, bishop, whatever the fuck needs to fuck. They don't say that shit about pastor, priest, bishop, nothing. All of a sudden, they start scrambling. And then here come the fucking excuses. Here come the apologetics. Here comes the, see, hold up. Time out. See, you're making the mistakes. You don't understand. See, the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior Jesus. See, the thing is, He gave us free will. The Lord gave us free will, so therefore, see, the thing is, like, so therefore, that's why the pastor had to rape those kids. And who knows? I mean, it's God's will, so maybe there was some spiritual miracle reason. Maybe there's just some unforeseen reason, fulfilling the prophecy or some retarded ass shit that they always say. And I'm just like, I don't understand how this is the way that y'all would want to operate, that this is how y'all would want to conduct yourselves, that this is the type of story, these are the type of stories that y'all would want associated with y'all every single fucking day. Every single fucking day. And all these people that claim that they're so against this type of behavior, why don't they have the same type of energy? You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. If what they were saying was so true, these stories would never happen. They would be the ones sitting right here with this same passion, spewing this vitriol against perpetrators like I'm doing. They would be the ones sitting here saying this stuff. They would use their resources to stamp out all this stuff nonstop if they really were true. In fact, the shit wouldn't be happening in the first place if the shit they were saying was really true. It is my belief that the church attracts rapists specifically. I mean, think about it like this, right? There's this, so I'm a big fan of a show called To Catch a Predator, the original To Catch a Predator, right? I watched the current True Blue show with Chris Hansen, right? I'm a subscriber, big fan, been a big fan for a long time, but I'm still, honestly, I prefer the old school. I prefer the NBC show. Okay, there was this one predator that got caught on there named Kenneth Brinkman, this gay guy who worked for BP, funny enough, right? Got caught on the show, embarrassed and all that type of shit. Guess what he does now? He's a fucking pastor! Of course! Of course! Think about it. What was TCAP all about? Catching these exact kind of fucking predators. Because it was found that online fucking predation became a big thing, right? So Chris Hansen and NBC were like, fuck it, let's go into this investigation. They did an investigation to see, oh shit, child predation online is a big problem, and all of a sudden it caught on, and they made a show out of it, and we all tuned in. Right? We see all these guys from all these different backgrounds, all these different demographics, black, white, Indian, Native American, whatever the fuck, Asian, Latino, you know what I mean? Like, from every tax bracket, broke niggas coming through on the taxi and motherfuckers pulling up in fucking Audis and shit. I'm talking about every demographic you could think of. Every occupation you can think of, from unemployed to fucking working in Silicon Valley to literally religious leaders. A fucking rabbi got caught on the fucking show. Okay? So, a rabbi, a practicing rabbi. So, think about the fact that, like, and going back to Kenneth Brinkman real quick, so I forget who, there's people in the TCAP community who actually have been keeping up with these predators and Chris Hansen and all that type of stuff. And so this was actually recently, I want to say last year, that one of these content creators, I forget exactly who, I wish I knew so I could shout him out, but he posted the video of Kenneth Brinkman literally doing a sermon at a church, and so many people in the comments are like, oh, it's good to see him turning his life around and blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, he didn't turn his life around. In fact, he did the exact opposite. He went the fucking bullshit route. He went to the fucking worst route possible, to where he could do the same shit he was trying to do, except now he can do it a lot more freely. Now he has people who are willing to put their kids in harm's way for his crazy ass. For what? A dude who was literally talking to a fucking, what he thought was a 14-year-old, talking about, so you have a nice cock. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is exactly what predators do. He's just one of so many. See, it's different with him because he got caught first. But it's even worse because we live in such a hyper-religious society, a hyper-theistic society, that theists will literally look past the fact that he got caught for that shit. And act like it's a virtue that all of a sudden now he's preaching the gospel. Which is what? Perpetuating the same bullshit scam that allows so many youth and unsuspecting people to get victimized. And the cycle continues. So that's why I'm such a staunch anti-theist. Because even if I wanted to be on that like diplomatic, like neutral state, how can I stand by while I see so many people, particularly children, getting harmed on your watch, despite you having these magnanimous claims of being guided by some supernatural super intelligence of some kind? If this is intelligence to you, you are crazy, and frankly, I don't want nothing to do with you. Move the fuck around. Get the fuck out of my face. You're an evil piece of shit. I don't care. I don't care what your excuses are. You have nothing. You have no justification for your beliefs. You have no demonstration of any of your bullshit beliefs, and you have presented zero value of any kind. You can argue all day. You can get in my face and recite a bunch of passages from the Bible all you want. Until you present the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in real life, there is no point in listening to any of the crap that y'all have to say. Because all I see are children getting hurt, children getting hurt, children getting hurt, and more children getting hurt. And none of y'all doing anything to stop it. Coming up with any kind of real solution whatsoever. Even though y'all got all these resources and all this manpower and all this money. What the fuck, man? Move the fuck around. So, this is why I do this. Because we could do this every day. And that's basically what I'm doing. Right? So, long story short is the coordination failures that we experience in the world, and particularly here in America, it is my hypothesis that religion, that theism is at the core of it all. Because so many people that get into politics are religious. The overwhelming majority of the population are religious, the voting bloc, right? And they failed miserably to demonstrate the true value of their religious bullshit. That's why I call it bullshit. That's why I'm super condescending. Because, I've never raped anybody in my life, and I never will. I will never, ever rape anybody. Because why? Why? Why would I do that? If I'm a person that wants to consider myself a good person, why would I want to engage in that kind of behavior? I'm not a perfect person. I've made mistakes that I regret to this day. But there are certain lines I could never cross. And I don't need to believe in some supernatural bullshit to not cross it. Which is why it's even crazier that people who do believe in supernatural bullshit, not only do they cross it, they're the main ones doing it. The main ones by far and it's not even close. Because I'm willing to bet you, right? Like I pulled up this story about the cop, right? How much you want to bet that cop is a fucking religious freak? How much you want to believe that the overwhelming majority of the people who engage in this behavior are religious? I mean, it literally says, right? If we go back to the not in our church website, this is what the fuck it says. There are studies that demonstrate that the faith community is even more vulnerable to abuse than secular environments. The Abel and Harlow study revealed that 93% of sex offenders describe themselves as religious, and that this category of offender may be the most dangerous. Other studies have found that sexual abusers within faith communities have more victims and younger victims. How the fuck could that even be remotely true if the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is so merciful and wonderful and kind and blah, 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 that dumb shit that these Christians always be saying all the fucking time? How can that be 93%? 93%. Not like 3%, not like 23%, not even 53%. 93%. That is an extreme majority. One would think that if religion was true, the number would be 0. And yet it's always the opposite. It's always the opposite. It's 0% of these Christians that can demonstrate their claims, but it's always the majority of sex offenders that can show that they're fucking some kind of Christian. So I don't get it. Why does this happen if what they were saying was true? So that's why, long story short, we got to drop the religious bullshit entirely. It doesn't help society. It doesn't help the world. It's not helping our planet. In fact, it's standing in the way. It is hindering our planet. It is hindering humanity. It is hindering our ability to truly understand the substrate of reality with their sci-fi fantasy bullshit. And the sad part about it is that because it's such a fucking scam, they have a monetary basis. They have a monetary incentive to prevent progress because they require people to be ignorant. You have to be an idiot. You have to be stupid. You have to be literally ignorant to subscribe to this shit in 2026. And yet that's why they keep people confused. That's why there's so much propaganda. That's why it's so hard for y'all to reach me, but it's so easy to reach all these fucking loonies all the time, right? That's why we see so many fucking liars and charlatans and scam artists who have not demonstrated a shred of any of their claims get such huge platforms. I mean, think about Charlie Kirk, one of the biggest Jesus freaks in the world, and yet not one time did he show us any Jesus anything. The same dude who was okay with people having guns because, well, people are going to get shot, didn't realize his dumb ass could get shot. So, what a fucking loser. And ain't no Jesus come to save him. He got shot in front of everybody. Had a sign that said, "Prove me wrong," and he was proven wrong in front of everybody live in real time. And it's crazy that Christians will still be Christians with all of this anyway. So I don't get it. But thank y'all for coming through, man. We gotta fucking knock it off with this crazy shit. So if you fuck with what I was talking about, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on notifications, come through to the website, offthe9.com. Look at the fucking link right here. Just go to offthe9.com, okay, and join the Discord. We are building a community of awesome, like-minded individuals who realize that this shit is cap as fuck, alright? So, if you fuck with what I'm talking about, come on through, sign up to the fucking email list, all that type of shit. Alright? Check out the music. Check out, just find me everywhere at The Ultimate Rage, okay? Just go to the website, offthe9.com. Everything is there. So, stay smooth. Stop being bitch-ass simps for these narco psychos, these narcissistic psychopaths, these psychopathic narcissists. They don't mean you well at all. Get off your knees, stop simping for them because they're going to take everything you got, including your life, if you keep fucking around. Okay? Let's bring some goddamn sense to this crazy ass world once and for all, shall we? Holla back at your motherfucking boy, man.